We're now going to look at activity 4 in the money management task 1, and that's in the personal finance course. Now this activity is comparing the cost of various forms of transport. So we're going to look at some public transport, and we're going to look at the cost of running a car and compare the cost for a kind of typical journey. To get you thinking about the difference in using public transport and having your own car, and the difference in price, how much you could save using either option. So task number 1 is a bit of research for you. You need to travel from Glasgow to Edinburgh and back to attend a meeting on a Wednesday. Use the internet to compare the cost of a return train and bus ticket if you travel during off-peak hours. So during off-peak hours. So peak hours, you probably will know this already, is obviously for getting you to the place in time for the start of the working day, in time for 9 o'clock, so that's usually between like 7 and 9, but we're on off-peak hours. So just so we're all doing the same thing, set your departure time from Glasgow, leaving Glasgow at 11 AM, and so we're back in the off-peak hours, leave Edinburgh back to Glasgow, say at 2 PM. Okay, so leaving Glasgow at 11 AM, then leaving Edinburgh to come back at 2 PM. Okay, so what I want you to do now is to get your train prices. You're going to go to this train website, www.thetrainline.com. That's for your train prices. And you can go to the Megabus website for your bus return. So what I need you to do now is to pause the video and go to the train line. Calculate, put in the Glasgow to Edinburgh return for a Wednesday, leaving Glasgow at 11 AM, leaving Edinburgh to come back at 2 PM. Tell me what the total cost for a return ticket is for your train and your bus. Do that now, please. So yeah, I should have said for you to pause the video so that you don't have me starting again before you finish. So pause the video and then write down your two prices and then start the video again. Okay, so I searched the train line for Wednesday, and it was an off-peak return, leaving at 11, coming back at 2:15 actually was the return from Edinburgh Waverley back to Glasgow Central, and that gave me a total cost of £13.60. Right, now I went to the Megabus website as well, and I did the same thing, leaving at, this was a bit not as easily to use this website. You had to select your outbound journey price and then select your return journey. So it was 11 AM, you had to scroll down a wee bit, 11 and then 2 PM coming back, and it was £3.75 each way, plus there's a £1 booking fee, so that costs £8.50 for the bus. So in general the bus tends to be a bit cheaper than the train. Okay, so now we're going to go and look at basically the cost of a car. So Jane has a car and she calculates that the cost of owning her car is £2,500 per year. Underline that, that's important information. It's costing £2,500 per year. So that includes her loan repayments, so paying back, the cost of the car, repairs on the car, it's her insurance as well, and road tax. And that doesn't actually even include the cost of petrol, so that's excluding the cost of petrol. So if Jane travels 12,000 miles per year, that's a typical mileage for a kind of normal driver, as you would do 12,000 miles each year. How much will the car cost her per mile? And that's not including petrol. So to do this, we're just going to take our £2,500 and we are going to divide by 12,000 miles. We want to know how much it is per mile. So we're doing the cost divided by the number of miles. That will get me the cost of the car per mile. So in your calculators now please, 2,500 divided by 12,000. And that is working out to be 0.21 if we round to the nearest penny. So that's 21 pence per mile basically, 0.21 pounds per mile. Okay. So Jane needs to drive from Glasgow to Edinburgh and back for a meeting. So same situation as we had with the bus and the train. It's 45 miles from Glasgow to Edinburgh. Let's underline that. 45 miles from Glasgow to Edinburgh. If Jane's car can travel 45 miles per gallon of petrol, and petrol costs £6 per gallon, how much will the petrol cost for her return journey? So there's a few things to factor in here, and this is quite important obviously when you're working out petrol costs for a journey. Often if you're, when you go on weekends away or trips away, day trips with your friends, when one of them has a car and you may be trying to work out petrol money, this is how you do it. Okay, so it is the number of miles divided by the number of miles per gallon, first of all. So it's 45 miles from Glasgow to Edinburgh, but we need to go back the way as well. So it's actually 90 miles in total, and we are going to divide that by how many miles I do per gallon. So divided by 40. This is going to tell us how many gallons of petrol we're going to use. So miles mpg. So that answer, if we do that, is 90 divided by 40. That's going to give me an answer of 2.25. So I'll use up 2.25 gallons of petrol. That's how much petrol used. Now that costs £6 per gallon, so I then multiply that amount by £6, and that's going to get me my cost of the petrol. So 2.25 times 6, and it's £13.50. So over a tenner just for the petrol for the return journey from Edinburgh to Glasgow, or Glasgow to Edinburgh. So question D says, using your answer to question B and C, calculate the full cost of Jane's journey from Glasgow to Edinburgh. Okay, so that's the cost of the petrol plus, from part B, the cost of how much it's costing her to run her car per mile, including the insurance and the repairs and all of that sort of thing. So the cost of running the car, which we would maybe class as running costs, was £0.21 per mile, and the petrol cost for that journey was £13.50. So what we have to do is work out the running cost for that journey, which was 90 miles, remember, and then add it onto our petrol cost. So our kind of total costs here are going to be the running cost, 0.21 multiplied by 90 miles, and then we are going to add on to that the cost of the petrol as well, so £13.50. So if you put that whole thing into a calculator, that will tell you the cost of doing this journey by car. So that becomes £18.90 plus £13.50, and that is £32.40. So look at that cost, £32.40 to do the journey by car. And if we go back to our part A, where we did the train and the bus, is £13.60 for the train and £8.50. Much cheaper. You don't have to worry about any insurance, any petrol, any repairs, anything like that. You're just purely doing the journey. So that's quite an interesting activity, I think, which gets you thinking, hopefully, about basically the cost of owning a car. Everyone wants to own a car. It's much more, easy to own a car. It's you can travel about whenever you want. You can stop wherever you want. Of course you can, but it comes at a cost. Okay, so I want you to have a wee think about that and think, if you're thinking about getting a car, maybe straight away, if you're lucky enough to maybe get lessons and get a car straight away, maybe this activity might have you thinking, maybe do I really need a car? Okay, maybe it would be more efficient for my money to take the train, take the bus.